Hello, everybody. This is One More Road for the beer, travel, and food podcast where we go around Europe looking at the best beer cities, give you tips on where to drink that great beer, where to have a bite to eat, and maybe where to put your head down at night. I'm Zachary Johnston. With me, as always, is my beer Sherpa, Mr. Joe Stang.
Hello, Zach. Good evening.
Good evening indeed. Very excited about this episode, Joe, because it's a place that's both very important and very near and dear to your heart and many beer lovers' hearts around the world. So where are we going today, Joe?
Well, we're going to Bamberg.
And where is that exactly?
It's in Germany. It's in the northern part of Bavaria. It's like Texas of Germany.
Yes.
Down south. And it's like Texas. It's quite proud.
Big food.
Yeah. And then Franconia maybe is the Texas of Bavaria. I'm not sure. It's sort of also quite proud and a big chunk of it up in the northern section of it. And for beer lovers, it's famous for the beer.
So would it be sort of like, considering you think Texas, Bavaria, so Franconia would be sort of like Travis County?
Man, I can't get too deep into that. I don't know where to go with that.
All the people in Austin just switched off the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. No, but Bamberg is in a region called Franconia, and it is specifically an area called Upper Franconia, Oberfranken, and this is the most brewery-dense region in the world.
Wow.
So if you're driving around in random directions out in the countryside, village to village, nestled in the little valleys, these red tile roof villages, you can literally drive in random directions and you're going to find breweries. One village, next village, probably all going to have breweries, sometimes more than one. And Bamberg is the linchpin of this area of the brewery density. Only about 77-ish thousand people in Bamberg and 11 breweries, okay? So one brewery for 7,000 people, okay? And I checked, I did the math. That beats Portland.
Wow.
It beats San Diego. Portland, for example, about 60 breweries for 600,000 people. So one for every 10,000 people. Right. That's a different thing. And that's also a consequence of the big, craft beer boom. Whereas these breweries were kind of already there, most of them. So this is a traditional thing, and the breweries just never went away. Of course, actually, a lot of them did go away, but there's still enough there. They have a very strong tradition of brewing there. And in the whole region, anchored around Bamberg, is like a crucible for great brewing. Because people, when you have that many breweries around and that much great beer, people won't settle for mediocrity. The brewers have to be better. And also, as a nice consequence, people don't want to pay a lot for beer because there's a lot of competition and they're used to not only paying 2 or 3 euros for a half-liter beer.
Which, 2 or 3 euros for half-liter beer, we're talking $3.50, $4 tops for a half-liter, which is 16.9 ounces of some of the best beer in the world, arguably. So let's say you're traveling to Germany. You're probably going to fly into Munich, Berlin, Frankfurt. So let's say you fly into Munich. How do you get up to Bamberg from there?
You can take the train. You can rent a car.
Right. It's only like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
A couple hours. You can also fly into Nuremberg.
Right.
You can hop on a train from Nuremberg, and you're there in 40 minutes.
Oh, okay. And Nuremberg's a great city to wander around as well. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, it's worth some days on its own, for sure. Yeah.
But that's another podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we have, there's not to mention Munich and Berlin, and we're doing Bamberg before those other cities. There's a reason why. This is a place of pilgrimage. There's so much to do, so many shows to do. And but Bamberg is, obviously, it was high on our list of like cities we got to do. And it's the beer is great. Talking about going in, you can go in the off-season. You can find your airfare deals. There are cheap rooms in Bamberg. I was looking today. There's a hotel I stay at sometimes. It's called the Brauerei Dreieck. Okay? And that is the brewery triangle. And it's because it's right there by 2 breweries, Maasbräu and Käsemann. And you can walk easy. It's right on the corner. And then you have a little bit, actually quite a healthy walk into the old town. But you can get a room for 59 euros a night. So it's about $65 for a couple. 2 people to stay in a room.
Right. So, and that probably comes with breakfast, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I'm always worried, being a travel writer, that what we do is elitist because not everybody can afford to get away. And not everybody has 2 weeks of vacation or more, But you can do this. It's not expensive. Look in the off season. There's cheap rooms, and then the beer is cheap, and it's some of the best beer in the world, like you said.
Yeah, and even in the off season, like if you're looking at coming right now, it's cozy. Everybody's inside, sort of bundled. There are fires crackling. There's a dog under the table, and it's like it's more atmospheric in a way. Like, yes, of course, the beer gardens in the summer are amazingly fantastic. Don't get us wrong, but it's just sort of what you want. Don't let price get in the way when you can have a wholly unique experience one time or the other.
Yeah, that's right.
What are the main sort of beer styles we're looking at here? Because when I think of Bamberg, I immediately go to Rauchbier.
Yeah, smoked beer. That's what most people think of when if they know Bamberg, they think of smoked beer immediately. I think you got to do that first. Yeah, I think that you got to go to Schlankerla, and it's probably the most famous pub and brewery in Bamberg, and you got to do that experience. The locals still go; they fill up the streets in the evenings and in the daytime as well as tourists. The pub is more than 600 years old.
Oh, wow!
It wasn't always Schlankerla. That's only been 160 years or so. 150 years, but
only.
yeah, right. Yeah, just a blink of an eye. And the beer, their flagship beer, the beer that's made it famous, has really, according to the brewmaster, not changed in that time.
Right.
It's been 6 generations of just minor tweaks to account for natural changes in ingredients. So it is the Schlankerla Märzen. This is, if you only go to Bamberg to drink one beer, this is the beer you probably ought to have. It's dark brown. It's fairly bitter, which helps you able to drink more of it than you thought you might. And it is smoky. Some people describe it as a smoked ham or a bacon type taste.
Yeah.
I think it's evocative of that. You don't really taste bacon, but it is beechwood smoke. It will remind you of that. And the cliche is you have one glass, you think, the first timer, yeah? That's weird. And then you have another glass. And another.
Yeah.
And so on. And then you're hooked.
You're hooked. So when you're at the brewery, do you actually get to see the malting floor where they're smoking the grains, or is that on a different location?
So the brewery itself is up the hill.
Okay.
This is the pub. This is the place you want to go. There's nowhere to drink at the brewery.
So why go there?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you want to just see some beer getting made.
I mean, you can go see it. You can go
yeah.
pay your respects. But this is the place where you really pay your respects.
Right.
So there's several big rooms. Part of it used to be a monastery. So you have some sort of a medieval feel and arch ceilings and things, but then others are more rustic with lots of antlers and so on. It's
Right.
sort of a big rambling place that's grown over the years.
And it's very comfort food orientated in on the menu. It's very what you would almost come to expect from Bavarian big food.
Absolutely. You got your sausages, your bratwurst, and you've got your pork knuckles. But there's something kind of a special dish there that is their sort of a signature dish. And it's the Bamberger Zwiebel, the Bamberg onion. And it is a big onion, roasted, stuffed with ground pork. You got some crispy bacon, mashed potatoes, and then this like savory dark sauce that's made from the smoked beer. I mean, a lot of foods go well with smoked beer, but it's kind of hard to sort of conjure up one that might go better with smoked beer than that, really.
Right. It sounds like the sort of Bavarian bloomin' onion almost.
That's it, yeah. The beating heart of this place and the beating heart of a lot of Bamberg area breweries is first this hallway that runs through the middle like an artery. And then in the middle of that is going to be a window called the Schenke. It just means basically outlet. You can walk up to that window and get a beer anytime. The place opens at 9 in the morning. You can go at 9 in the morning and get a beer. And then you can, if there's room, you can stand around the hallway. This is if you can't find a place to sit. I mean, usually you don't necessarily want to sit unless you're going to be there for a long time. You're going to eat. You can get a beer and just stand outside with your glass of beer. A lot of people do it. And while you're out there, you're going to meet locals. You're going to meet some students, and you're going to meet people like you who've come from a long way just to do exactly that.
Right. You might even get to pet a nice dog or two.
Of course.
Yeah. So, okay, feels like perfect starting point where you can kind of get stuck, maybe. And so when you finally do get unstuck from the smoke beer, where do you head next?
Well, I think we should mention the other traditional smoke beer brewery. That's Spezial. And it's on the other side of the river, on the other side of the Regnitz. So you can cross if you want one of those bridges where the old city hall is there spanning the river. It's very cool. It's a neat building you ought to see. There's a lot to see between breweries, so it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The city, so you have the dome,
the
cathedral.
whole city.
The old
center.
the old city, the old city center, and lots of good shopping and all that too. Some museums here and there. You don't have to eat and drink all the time. Spezial is whereas Schlankerla has that medieval feel. Spezial is a little bit more 19th century feel. Dark wooden paneling and lots and lots of antlers. And they also have the smoked beer, also traditionally made, and they smoke their own barley they smoke their own malt like Schlenkerla does. But they have other things. And actually, the beer I like to drink there is the Ungespundet. And this is a sort of a form of Keller beer, which is the sort of other major, if you can even call it a style, a broad family of beers, which tend to be unfiltered lager to give it maybe too much shorthand. And there, the Ungespundet, it's a little bit different every time I drink it there, which is part of the fun. But it tends to be pretty malty, pretty hoppy, nice and bitter, especially when it's fresh. And it's just a joy to drink it. I mean, there are people who go to Bamberg a lot, and we all will have arguments over which beer is the best in the city, and we change our mind every time we go back. So, there's a few that I rotate between, including the Schrankerla Märzen, and this is one of the other ones. We have to mention also, since we're at Spezial, you can stay there. There are rooms there.
All right.
And right across the street is another brewery. They're kind of everywhere. You can throw a rock and hit another brewery. And this one is Fesla. What I really like about this place is this kind of ramshackle courtyard in the back. The beer is good. It doesn't quite get me excited like Schrankerla does, but it's good. And it's just cool to kind of. There's a little nut machine in the back. Put it in your euro and get your little can of peanuts and sit with a gold pills or a Schwergler and chat with strangers, and it's just a great time.
Nice. Sounds very atmospheric as well. Sort of, you can bounce back and forth between the two and sort of get the vibe of the places.
Yeah.
That's already a lot of beer. We talked about 3 places in a very short amount of time.
We're just getting started.
Is there a difference then between being on one side of the river to the other? Is there a preferred side, or is it good to dart back and forth? Or should you save one day for one side, one day for the other?
Nah, you're going to want to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends how many days you got, I guess.
Right.
And it depends your brewery priorities, but one side of the river is the old ecclesiastical side. This is where the churches and the monastery and things were. And then the other side, where Spezial is more the commercial side. This is where the businesses were and the business people, the tradesmen. And so this is, I don't know if it's true, but the story goes that this is why the city hall is spanning the river, is a compromise between both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I never knew that. It's a really interesting architecturally town anyway, just to wander around, even if you aren't there to drink.
There's a lot of stuff to take pictures of, not just beers and Bamberger onions. And
So where's next?
Back to Spezial. There is another Spezial place that I think has to be mentioned. It's one of my favorite places in the city to go.
Same brewery, different location.
Same brewery, different place.
Right.
It's the Spezial Keller. So we have to explain what a Keller is. A Keller, of course, in German means cellar, but in Franconia it means something much more. It really means beer garden. Why? Because the cellars are where the breweries they finished their beer. So that's where the beer was freshest. And so these beer gardens sort of organically grew up around these spots where you could get fresh beer.
Right.
Keller beer, it's shorthand now for unfiltered beer, unfiltered lager normally. But really what it meant was beer from the Keller.
Right.
So you could go straight to the Keller and you could get some beer and bring it home. Or you could sit there with other people who are doing the same thing. Sit at a table under the trees, under the chestnut trees, lots of good quality shade under those chestnut trees, which lowers the temperature of the ground, which lowers the temperature of the cellars. And so you get this nice low temperature for the lagering of the beer. Hence we get lager. This is like ground zero for lager, man. This is the most popular type of beer that has completely taken over the world. And this is as good a place as any to get an idea of its origins, where it really came from.
Right. And this is, a lot of the stuff is big and sort of bold compared to the lager, the adjunct lager we came to know, especially as you go further west in the UK and Ireland and US, Canada, Mexico. You'll get a mug of lager and you'll first be hit with a rush of florals or citrus or just all these different things where you're just like, this does not feel like the same beer I grew up with.
Exactly. If you hear the word lager and you think of a, Budweiser or Carling, then you need to come to Bamberg, and it's going to give you a different idea of what that word means.
Yeah.
I think partly it's because the area is very conservative. They hold on to old tastes and old recipes, and a lot of the breweries have been handed down generation to generation for quite a while. So the recipes don't change much. But also, I think, and maybe this is a more sort of realistic way to look at it, maybe a little less romantic, but you have a little region with hundreds of breweries. If you put out bland beer, people are going to go somewhere else.
Right. Everybody's fighting to get to the top.
I don't think they're fighting. I think they're just living.
They're just living, yeah. That's the best part of it.
Yeah.
They're just living.
Every brewery is often going to do a different style of beer. Some are golden, some are brown, some are bitter, some are sweet.
Right.
A lot are well balanced, some are more hoppy aromatically and so on and so on. But and some are smoked. But in each village, if you go up and just order a beer, they're going to know what that means, even if you don't, and you're going to get something that's a bit of a surprise. And so
it's a bit like stepping back in time, because even in the U.S. before Prohibition, like every neighborhood had a brewer, and you'd go pick up your beer, you'd go drink the beer there. But the ubiquity of brewers in the States before Prohibition was very dense. And we're not even now back to it, really. And so this is sort of like a world had Prohibition not happened. This is how dense it was. Could still be.
Yeah, well, I think even Upper Franconia has lost breweries.
Right.
So, but they just didn't lose as many. Spezialkeller. We were on Spezialkeller, yeah. So you got to go up Stephansberg Hill. There are 7 hills in Bamberg, just like there are 7 hills in Rome. This is why Rome is the Italian Bamberg. I don't know if you heard that joke. And the Spezialkeller has this gorgeous view over the skyline and great beer. A little playground, kind of a dinky for my kids. I don't care for that playground especially. I would become a playground critic as well as a beer critic after a while.
And a pinball museum critic, I'm hearing.
Yeah, I found more pinball museums. We'll tell you guys about those in future shows. There's no pinball museum in Bamberg, unfortunately, but plenty of beer. The Spezialkeller, you can get your hunk of roast pork and your, Wurstsalat, sausage salad, that is. It's like bologna salad, if that makes sense to you. It works. It works.
Yeah, because it's got a little tanginess to it. It's because it's kind of tossed with vinegar and pickled onions and pickled gherkins, and it's fantastic.
Served cold. It's just it's so wrong, but so right. Yes. Very refreshing in the summer. Up there at the Spezialkeller, they have the smoked beer, they have the ungespundet, they have the Weizen beer, and it's a really nice spot. And it's actually, incidentally, it's right by the Schlenkerla, the Heller Trum brewery. This is the actual name of the Schlenkerla's brewery. Aha. It's right there next to it, around the corner.
So you could theoretically go up, do your brewery tour, head over to the Spezialkeller, and then get in your lunch, so to speak, and then go from there, like wander back down the hill.
Yeah.
Or do you wander over to another hill?
I would actually go up the hill.
Go up the hill,
yeah. There's another big beer garden up there, the Wilde Rose Keller.
See, this is the thing I love about Germany, is like, yes, go walk up a mountain, but there's a beer garden at the top, so you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to walk up that mountain.
But if there's not a beer garden at the top, why would you even go up there?
Right, exactly.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
The Wilde Rose Keller, I love it because it looks to me like the only thing that's changed since the 19th century is that the trees got bigger and leafier. There's a big playground at one end for the kids. There's like a 19th century bandstand that looks like it hasn't changed. And then the beer is great. It's not brewed there. They have the Keller beer brewed supposedly to their recipe, I don't know, at the Löwenbräu brewery in Budenheim to the south, little village to the south. And it's nice, dusty, earthy, bitter beer, nice little malt sweetness to it, very drinkable. And you're going to get it in these heavy Steinkrug, those big porcelain mugs that we usually call Steins. Not quite correct. We should call them Krugs.
Yeah, because Stein is just rock. Krug is mug, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So it'd be like, I guess it's though we call a glass. I don't know.
I think Stein has become accepted American English or English at this point. So,
yeah,
but it's still we could make it better. Call them Krugs.
Call them Krugs.
Yeah. So from the Wilde Rose Keller, it's not that far of a walk to jump over to the next hill and another brewery, Greifenklau. And I like it because of the view. It's a middle-sized beer garden. You want to get a seat on the far edge where you're kind of up on a high spot, and from there you can see the Altenburg Castle, which is quite cool. It's a proper castle. Maybe in the morning or in the afternoon between breweries, you can hike up to the castle. It's a good walk, and up there they have beer up there too, because otherwise why would you go up there, right? You can have a Schlenkerla, smoked beer, and look out at the view over the city, and it's a nice thing to do too. Nice. And the Greifenklau beer is basically, they just call it lager beer. A lot of the breweries around Franconia just call it lager beer.
Oh, okay.
And it's deep golden color and malty with a nice bitterness to it to balance it out, and you could drink a lot of it.
So with the lager beer, is there going to be a distinction between Keller beer and lager beer, or is it just sort of lager beer is the umbrella term? No,
I think when you start to apply taxonomies to these things and start to put them in little boxes, then they're going to break out of those boxes immediately. There's just always exceptions, and so I don't worry too much about it. I think of it all as Franconian lager, and it comes in this incredible spectrum of color and flavor, and
right.
I tend to use Keller beer a lot just as an easy shorthand for a lot of these beers, even if they don't call it that. If they call it a lager beer or an ungespundet, I often just call it Keller beer because I'm lazy. But sometimes they call it that, and they don't mind. They know what you mean. But if we want to be correct, Keller beer is beer at the Keller. So,
Okay.
for example, there may be breweries where they call it lager beer if you're at the pub, but you go up the hill to the Keller and then it's Keller beer. But it's the same beer sometimes.
Right. And it's not like if, you're going there as a novice who doesn't speak German and you order a Keller beer, they're going to know what you mean. Or if you order a lager beer, they're going to know what you mean.
Yeah, no problem.
They're not going to be like, what? What's this thing you speak of?
No, that's, the locals do the same. They don't know either.
Right,
so,
right.
it's just beer.
Cool. Nice. So it sounds like we covered a lot of hills. Are there more hills, or are we going to go back down into town?
Well, actually, we're not going down that far. There's no way I'm mentioning all the breweries. We can't do
right.
it. We'd be here all night.
Unless you had like a zip line between them all where you could just
Yeah.
quickly get there.
Right. But I can mention what is usually my favorite beer in the city and what is definitely my favorite bar in the city. But it doesn't open till late. So this is late evening now, right? Maybe you've been walking around all day, having a beer here and there, and now it's time to kind of settle in for a few before you head for bed. And the place I like to go is the Torchester. And this is up the hill from the Dome Cathedral. And it's a nice kind of walk over some cobbled streets. It doesn't take a lot of imagination on that side of Bamberg to imagine gaslit lanterns and monks in habits walking around and stuff. And you get to this corner bar. They don't have a website. They don't have a Facebook page. So I usually just have to kind of walk by and look at the hours and see what it is lately because they change around. But it tends to be late. It can be 6 p.m. in high season. I just checked tonight. It's 7:30 p.m. is what time they're opening these days.
That's pretty late for around here.
That's late.
Yeah.
It's late, and it's because it's like a sideline.
Right.
It's basically a micro pub.
Okay.
So it's
So people aren't going there for like dinner. They're going there to drink.
Yeah. There's no food. There's no food there. One point in its favor, among several, is that they have beers from virtually every Bamberg brewery there.
Ooh, okay.
Not all the beers, but usually one from each brewery. And so you can get your Schlankerler Märzen there. You can have your Spezial smoke beer, and you can get, and this is what I like to drink there, is the Käsemann Herrenpils. And I love this beer. I think it's a
Herrenpils.
Yeah, it's sort of a legendary beer for people who are into Bamberg or into German Pils even, I think, because it's a very hoppy Pils. And it is herbal and bitter. It's got enough malt to check all that, just barely.
Right.
But it is full-flavored, hoppy Pils.
It's so easy to drink.
And I'm spoiled for Pils now because of this beer and a couple others.
Don't tell anybody in the Czech Republic, but
Yeah, well, that's a different thing.
Right.
I consider it a completely different type of beer over there. This is, to get this much hop character in a German beer is just such a wonderful thing. And then I'm kind of, I'm going on a soliloquy about Käsemann Pils. I get bored with citrus hops. I know that brewers can get more out of herbal hops and earthy hops and spicy hops. And then you have a beer like Käsemann and you get it. That not every beer has to taste like tropical Kool-Aid.
right.
So it can taste like herb Kool-Aid instead. Something else, man. Yeah. Anyway, I love this beer, and it's great to have 2 or 3 at the end of the night. But another thing really going for the Torchester is the music. So the Thomas is the owner, the guy who runs it, and he is a proper audiophile. He has a probably ridiculously expensive set of turntables and a wonderful record collection that he keeps absolutely immaculate, and a proper stereo system. So you're in there drinking some of the best lagers on earth, and then you're hearing like classic rock and jazz and blues and funk and soul and like 80s new wave stuff. And it's just like, after listening to MP3s and whatnot for 20, 30 years now, suddenly you hear real music again, that surrounds you. It's just like, oh, and especially, frankly, after having a few beers during the day or whatever, this sort of like, it's just so relaxing and so cool. And, there's listening to music that you really like, and there's listening to music you really like after several beers.
I know what you mean.
And when you know all the words.
Your song comes on and it's just, it's a moment. Yeah.
And you're in public and you don't care. Yeah. And it's great fun. That's why I love that place. I have to make time for it when I go back there.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic spot. I'm very, very much into that audiophile owner making music sound right in a space. It's a unique thing, especially when you have great beer to drink. So where then?
Oh, then it's time to go. You got
to go back to bed at that point.
But I got something for the next morning.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about day 2 here?
Yeah. Well, after you have a good brunch and breakfast, you can sort of, rinse and repeat. And
Where do you like to go for brunch or breakfast?
well, I think
you just hit the hotel buffet, or
that sometimes works out well, not always.
Yeah.
For example, the dry egg place I mentioned earlier, the breakfast there is awful. So, and that's sometimes I think maybe part of the reason I stay there, so I have to go somewhere else for breakfast.
Good motivation, actually.
Yeah. And not a far walk from there is the Cafe Abseits. And it's been there, I'm not sure how long, I think 30 years maybe? It's been there that long, I don't know really. But not, it's been there a while. It started as a student bar. It evolved into a wine bar at some point, and now it's a full-fledged beer bar, but still a cafe. They open early, they have good coffee, and they do 20-something variations on breakfast. They have the whole menu is pretty extensive. I mean, if you can go any time of day and get wings and nachos, that sort of thing, if you want. Plus, more classic sort of Bavarian type food. But I like this menu of 20-something breakfasts. So you manage to get there 10, 11 in the morning after sleeping on, starting to sleep off your hangover, anyways. And you can come here, have a good coffee, have a breakfast. I mean, they have everything from cold German type breakfast, bread and ham and jam and cheese, to English breakfast with egg and bacon and beans, and then they have what's called the Bauernfrühstück, the farmer's breakfast.
Yes, that's sort of like a big omelet type thing with bacon in it and some vegetables and potatoes. And does it usually have cheese in it?
It's a pile.
Yeah, it's a pile.
It's a pile. You got a pile of fried potatoes. You have your either ham or bacon and a fried egg or two on top. Just, drizzle your Tabasco on there. Get a strong coffee.
It's like a skillet, isn't it? Almost.
Yeah.
Like
it's basically what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're ready to start another day of drinking after that.
Oh yeah.
So, and you can do it right there because they they have 5 beers on tap there, and they're good. He has extensive bottle list. So you've got lots of local breweries from the Bamberg and the region, rarer, fancier craft stuff as well. But on draft, they always have Casement Pils. They always have Münzenbacher Lager, one of my favorite beers from the area. Rich, full-flavored, malty, bitter, just a great beer.
Yeah.
They always have Huppendorfer Wohlbier, another rich, helles, and a Changing Guest beer, which right now is a beer from one of the best brewers in the area, Gainstaller. Gainstaller's Zwickelpils, an unfiltered hoppy pills. Just a gorgeous beer and a good way to maybe start your day too.
What's the difference between Zwickel and Kellerbier? Because I sometimes see those words used kind of interchangeably.
They are used basically interchangeably.
Okay.
They don't mean quite technically the same thing. Zwickel is the tap on a barrel or on a fermenter. Yeah? Okay. So Zwickel beer is like the closest thing to beer from the fermenter. And it usually, like Kellerbier, is basically code for unfiltered. Yeah.
So it's in the same ballpark at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, anybody who tries to tell you that there are clear differences between these things hasn't really been there and seen the beers and asked the brewers how they make them. Because they're sort of these Venn diagram circles that almost totally converge.
Right. I can feel that, especially when you're there drinking it. So what's one last place you'd recommend going before we head out of town?
Do we have time for one more?
I think we have time for one last one. Yeah.
Well, you go to the museum. There's actually up at the St. Michael's Abbey and the Michaelsburg Hill, there is a Franconian brewing museum. And it's kind of chintzy. Like there's some, there's a lot of knickknacks and not enough things to read for my taste. Like there's, cool pictures of guys breaking up the ice on the lakes, and that ice is they're going to go pack those into the cellars to keep the cellars nice and cold to lager the beer. But it would be nice to have that spelled out for us, So there's a lot of things not explained, but there's a lot of really cool old brewing equipment. You can get a guided tour who can explain more things, and little mannequins of ladies picking hops and stuff, and you can pose for pictures with those, and it's cool. And there's a proper old ice house down there where it's an example of a place where they used to keep beer and keep other things cold, and they would pack it with ice, and the ice would not melt all summer. I mean, it would. Wow. Yeah, it's a cool to get sort of the historical background and geek out a little bit on old brewing equipment and pictures and old brands and glasses and logos and stuff. It's a nice diversion. And
is there a beer nearby that you can drink, or can you drink a beer there?
It's Bamberg. There's beer everywhere, man.
Yeah, it's just like you said, throw a stone. You're gonna hit a beer bar or brewery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I think that wraps up a great introduction to Bamberg. We might have to come back and do a part 2 at some point. We'll have to see.
Yeah, man, that's good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that was our Bamberg episode of One More Road for the Beer. Basically, you can stream us, rate us, subscribe to us, download us wherever you can find a podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. It'd be amazing if you could follow us on Twitter at Road for the Beer and tell us what you think of Bamberg, what you think of the episodes, what we got wrong, what we got right. You can also follow along at Instagram, where we are starting to post up more pictures of our beer adventures, and that's at One More Road for the Beer. Also, you can follow Joe along on thirstypilgrim.com as he travels the world drinking beer. You can find me at uprocks.com, where I write about travel, food, and drink. This episode was engineered by Testcard in Berlin. And thank you all, and see you next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.